I enjoy philosophy to a certain degree. On one of my videos entitled Character, Part 1, where I talk about, where I do a reading from Schopenhauer, the book The World as Will and Representation. It's got a little, 4 to 7 hits. It's been rated 2.5 stars. I've got somebody calling himself Coro Outbreak who commented, says, quote, "It sort of figures that you'd worship a man who hated women and died alone with his cat." Now, Coro, how Schopenhauer died is completely irrelevant to anything that he wrote. Number 2, you obviously did not watch the entire video. I can tell because if you did, you would have seen and understood that it was a reading from Schopenhauer's book, not my thoughts. I mean, if you had even sought to look at the category that this is listed under, it says education. That's just it, education. This is the first time that I've been exposed to Schopenhauer's works. I know relatively little about him. And one thing that I've noticed is with all philosophers, they've usually have had tragic lives. I'm not sure if tragedy is a prerequisite for asking the big questions, whereas a lot of people really just don't ask the big questions. What is man's purpose? That's a damn big question. There's philosophers who devote their entire lives to that one question. People like you, Coro Outbreak, you're at the lower level. You really are. You're a piece of scum. You really are. You know why? Well, because number 1, you're more interested in something like whether or not Britney Spears is wearing, her panties during a concert, or, how much longer till Miley Cyrus is old enough to fantasize about while you're masturbating. See, here's the thing, Coro. You mind if I call you Coro? Well, that doesn't matter because I'm going to call it to you anyway. You see, Coro, there's a lot of people who watch my videos. There's people who actually, want to learn something. There's people who, they're like, oh, cool, that's something I didn't know. There's some people who say, well, that video has nothing of interest to me, so I'm just going to pass over it, watch something else. Then there's the special kind of idiot, like you, Coro, who sits there and wants to bash every single thing that you don't understand. You're like one of those apes in 2001 Space Odyssey. You see the giant monolith up in the desert minding its own fucking business, and you start beating your chest and throwing things and bashing it with bones that you've picked up off the desert floor. You see, Coro, you're pretty much a meaningless, useless person. I admit, I'm not the strongest, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the best looking, but I have an incredibly powerful mind. You, Coro, I'm really not sure what you have, and going to your channel, I see that you really don't have much of anything. So, rather than feeling irritation, I should actually feel pity for you, because you obviously have no intention of learning. Now, for example, when you would have looked at the checkerboard that I picked to represent this reading, you notice how all the pieces are on the white? You notice that? See, there's a specific reason for that ties into esoteric, spirituality type mentality, and that is the white pieces on a checkerboard represent ignorance. The black represents knowledge. On this particular piece, there is nothing on the black. Some of the pieces overshadow the black, but they're just not there. I mean, a lot of philosophers have really good things to say, but they're still missing that one vital piece. Me, I'm going after that piece. And if you can't handle that, Koro, then go to somebody else's channel, because you're really not worth my time. And to all my other viewers and subscribers who are choosing to join me in, my videos and actually watch and participate, thank you. Sincerely, thank you. Although I'm not really sure that I'm going to do very many more philosophical videos, just because, well, I can't say that. I will, but, I've been kind of slacking on the spirituality videos. And I know a lot of you guys don't understand that there really is no contradiction between the mind and the body. The church teaches us there's a contradiction. Philosophy says there's a contradiction. The state tells us there's a contradiction. I don't think there's an actual contradiction. I think we're just falling for one of the biggest illusions that's ever been perpetrated on the human race. I don't believe that there is a not a distinction, but an antagonism between those two things. I don't think that's there. I don't think it exists. I don't think there's any contradiction whatsoever. It's just that we don't understand the nature of how those things relate to each other. And we're a very interesting species. Once we understand how something relates to another thing, we run with it. But getting to that point where we understand how something works, sometimes it's a long process. It's just a long process. So, that's about it for this video.